Hey guys, I just wanted to make this little vlog type video. I haven't made one in a while, so um, but anyway, I just kind of wanted to make one. That's all. But let's see. My car was just being funny. um, I was looking through. I was looking through a lot of old pictures yesterday. I went through my Instagram page, like all the way to the beginning, and it's a lot to scroll through. It ended up being not as much as I thought it would have been. Didn't take that much time. The trick is whether you're in a place or not where the photos will actually load, because scroll, wait, load takes forever. But when you're on Wi-Fi or something a little better, it's much better. Anyway, it just worked out great is all. But I looked through my pictures, and a lot of them, it was really hard to look at some of them, and because of what I was going through at the time, it's just hard to look at my life at certain points, because it makes me feel like, oh man, like why did I do that, or like I wish I hadn't have done that, or what was I thinking, or I was so lost, or oh my gosh, that is so crazy, or I'm a different person, or I was a different person, and things like that. And I don't feel anything bad about it, really. Not, I mean, I don't feel bad. I guess I do feel bad about my past in certain ways, but not in a way where I'm like, I don't have any like unhealthy feelings towards myself, is what I'm trying to say, about my past, or about, anything that I know of. But I went all the way to the beginning, as far back as I could go, and that was like actually some pictures from 2012, I believe, and 2013. Yeah, mostly 2012, 2013, leading up into and including 2014, and then on. But I went through a phase after I broke up with my wife and got a divorce, or was in the process of getting a divorce, where I was really struggling. I didn't know what to do. I was just grabbing onto anything, and honestly, that's just me trying to explain it. It's kind of hard to explain. A lot of those things were hard to explain now. But I was in a phase where I was like really against God, and I had a friend who I was doing something bad with, who was the whole situation just wasn't good. I was involved with someone in an unhealthy way, doing unhealthy things, and all kinds of just bad things. And I started getting into, there's this company called Black Craft Cult, and I just wanted to talk about this because it's better. I think it's better to talk about than to just not. And it was like this. It was like this. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this company. Anyway, all their stuff was black. Not that black is bad. I'm just describing it. All their shirts and stuff were black mostly, and they used humor. At least I thought it was funny, and maybe I was picking up on the humor. But they were kind of just making fun of the idea that they're making fun of Christians. Honestly, they're making fun of people who believe in God, and they were doing that. But when you really looked into it, and looked into like the founder and the things that he said about the company and stuff like that, a lot of it was about like self-empowerment and individuality, expressing your individuality, things like that, and which are good. Those things are good, but it was just taken to an extreme, because it was like, be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and it's like, well, that's good in theory, but not. But when you factor God in and factor in what's right and wrong, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to just do what you want. You know, you should do what you should do. And so I was at a crossroads because I was doing something I shouldn't have done, right? And that was divorcing my wife and just escaping that and trying to escape it at least and trying to break away. And I was just, it's hard to explain. I was just going rogue, basically. I was just going rogue. And me and her were Christians. We didn't go to church, but we were Christian-ish, like we believed in God. We didn't have like really solid relationships with him that we like practiced or did much with. So it was pretty dormant, which I warn you guys of having those kinds of relationships with God, because it doesn't last. That's how those relationships fall apart, when you don't take care of them, you know. And so I got into this company, Black Craft Cult is what it was called. I mean, it sounds evil all the way around. And I'm not trying to say, oh my gosh, this stuff is so evil, you need to look out for it, it's so evil, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to go on that route. I'm just trying to say that this is what I was doing, and this is what it was, and it's like, it's a really great indicator for what was going on at the time in certain ways. And I mean, I had shirts that were atheist. It was an atheist company, basically. They were anti-God in a lot of ways. So, and I mean, I spent money on this stuff, and I wore this stuff, and it was like such a not just a 180. It was such a massive shift and flip on who I was, how I grew up, how I was raised, what I was taught. It was the flip side of what I was taught was right. I'd gone completely rogue. And I think I did these things to kind of cope with the divorce and cope with the leaving my wife, and how, I guess, traumatic it was in a way, and just drastic. But I mean, I had a hat that had a black American flag on it, but instead of stars, they were all upside down crosses, and it said "One Nation, No God" underneath of it. And so, like, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. That's the kind of stuff I wore, and the kind of stuff I had. And I have a picture. The picture still exists of me wearing that hat, and I look at myself and I just see, like, I see a lot of pain in my eyes, and a lot of confusion, and a lot of like unsureness, and a lot of conflict, and just a lot of those kinds of things. And I'm not saying I felt that way because I was wearing that. I'm saying that I was going through a lot, and so it's like, well, no wonder I was in a weird place, doing weird things or unusual things. I was going through so much, and I was going through so much. Not to like excuse it, but I just was. And I had another black shirt that had a cat on it. You know how cats have little markings on them? Well, this cat had a little marking on his forehead, but it was an upside down cross, and it said Lucifer, like Lucifer, like the cat. It said Lucifer, Lucifer, and it was supposed to be funny, and like it was just like, and I get that it's funny, and this kind of culture like comes out of, this is like straight out of Los Angeles, basically, and it's a very godless. The culture I'm talking about is very godless, and but I just thought it was funny and awesome. I thought it was like I felt like I needed to stand in defiance of everything, because if I didn't, then it was going to collapse. It was going to crush me. That's how I felt. And I know that's not how God is, but that's how I felt. And so I was doing everything I could to like keep that stuff away, you know, because I didn't want anything telling me anything. I didn't want my conscience telling me anything. I didn't want anything telling me anything. I was like, I have to do this. I'm making this move. I don't care if it's right or wrong. This is what I have to do. I have to get out of this marriage, basically. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. And the only way for me to do this is to go full sail. I don't want to try it and then go back and, and fail, and have the embarrassment of exposing my feelings and then going back and reneging on it and going back, I felt like this is do or die. If I'm going to do this, I have to do this 100%, and I can't turn back. I can't turn back, because if I turn back, I'm going to be right where I was again. I'll be right in the same situation. I'm going to be stuck doing the same thing again. That's how I felt, and that's what I did, and I did do that. I really did. I still had things to do with her family and her, my wife, ex-wife, and we were amicable, but there was a lot of things that it was so hard. I had another shirt that I wore, and it's in one of my pictures, and this is like the worst part. I feel like one of the worst parts that I was into was, and I just thought about this morning. It never really hit me until this morning about how, let's just say how flip it was. This was so flip. But it was a black shirt that had like a Ouija board on it. And it literally said, "Hail Satan, drink coffee." And I think you can kind of tell or kind of get like depending if you're religious or not, that might sting hearing that, or just be like, oh my gosh, that's insane, you wore a shirt that actually said that, But when you think about it also, it's like, I'm trying to point out the humor, I guess, because it was kind of saying like, dude, people take things too seriously sometimes. People who believe in God take things too seriously, and they're too serious about this, and blah, 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 blah. That's kind of like the angle they were coming from. So they're just kind of saying like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, just do what you want. Be a cool person. Like you don't have to believe in God to be a good person, and things like that. And so it was an interesting, I don't know what you want to call it, interesting mentality or headspace. But at the same time, like when I look at the picture and I see what it said, and see it said, "Hail Satan, drink coffee," I recognize that, like, wow, like that, it says to me, it's like, wow, that's the extreme. That was the extreme of where I was. Like, that was pretty crazy. That was honestly really crazy. And there's another one that I'm not going to get into details, not a shirt that I wear, but just like a post that me and this person did. And we all did it we did it out of fun. We did it out of like lightheartedness, if you will. It was, and it from a place of innocence as well, but it just wasn't good. And so looking at some of these pictures and seeing like, I made a lot of it. This is back when, like, I don't know, I loved making Instagram posts. Like, I still do, but it's not the same, and I'm not trying to like do the same thing as I was. I don't know, but like back in the day, I would make like collage pictures of things that I liked and that I was celebrating. Like, and I know I just got done talking about like a shirt that said "Hail Satan, drink coffee." I was not a Satanist, but I made this post about Halloween, and like put a bunch of people who are my favorite people on there from Halloween movies and characters and stuff like that. And in one of the hashtags, I said "Hail Satan," and it's just like, and I did it as a joke. I did it because I did it as like, no, I'm not really trying to hail Satan. It was like, at the time, I didn't even really believe in Satan. I didn't even really believe in him. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a joke. I thought the people that thought that was serious were a joke. I thought that the whole thing was a joke, And so that's where I was coming from with that. And so while it looks really crazy, and it was and is in certain ways, That's where I was coming from. But yeah, no, it was just crazy, and it's just like looking at these pictures was I don't know, it was really eye opening, and it's I'm not gonna jump back into that, of course. I'm not gonna get into black craft cult or whatever again, and like, do all of that. Um, you know. Um, but I thought it was interesting that I just thought it was interesting the different places I had been and different things I had done, and the different versions of myself, I guess, if you will. And it reminded me a lot of different times, not those things specifically, but just me through those years. Like when I lived in Reno, that's when I lived in Reno, and that was after, like I said, that was after I broke up with my wife and got a divorce and stuff. But I also, yeah, I'm not going to get into all the details, but I had a friend who's still a really good friend. I look up to him, and he's a brother and stuff like that. But he taught me a lot about life, and for better or for worse, some things were not good ideas, but led me kind of down the wrong paths. He did not lead me down the wrong paths, but I got into some things that just weren't, they weren't ideal. They weren't good. But something that I noticed from looking at the pictures were things that I was remembering. And I'm here getting breakfast, but I want to really continue to make this video right now for this moment. But yeah, my friend Mike, he was a really awesome dude. He still is. He's still alive. And I say he was an awesome dude. But no, it was really cool being friends with him, and it still is. I just don't see him that much because he lives out west, and we still talk. But I just looking at pictures of myself back then, I didn't really like who I was. I didn't really like my identity. But then again, I didn't really have much else going for me. That I knew of. I was kind of just like, I was literally just trying to find my way. I was just trying to find my way, and doing this, doing that, being foolish, being a little bit too foolish here and there. But what I'm trying to say, and it's hard to put into words, is like, I guess there's just a different way of being that I had some of at that point. I was more this way then than I am now. And it's really kind of helped me a lot, actually, thinking about things. It kind of really has helped me make sense of things and not stay stuck on something, and instead realize, well, that's easy. That's actually a no-brainer. Why do I need to dwell on that? Why do I need to ruminate on that? Why do I need to stay stuck thinking about that? I don't need to stay stuck thinking on that. I can get over that. I can get through that. And it was kind of like that mentality versus the opposite, which has been, well, I don't really know. I need to think about that. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Things like that. And this is kind of a hard thing to explain what I'm trying to say. But it just seemed like I was much more decisive back then, or easily, or I could make sense of things quicker. And I'm not saying that I'm not that way now. And obviously, from joining the church and having the Spirit, and all the things I've learned since being in the church, and all the knowledge I have, that priceless knowledge, pales in all of that stuff pales in comparison to all the things I have now, all these things. But again, it was refreshing, and this helped me out a lot too. Before, when I worked at this job here in Maryland, like just a few years ago, and my buddy's still there. We just got done talking about it last night, and he still hates it, of course. And we're just talking about how bad it was, and how he knows he needs to leave and stuff like that. And You know, at the time, I worked that job and I was doing the best I could. I was trying hard. It was a full-time job. I was making decent money, but it was hard. It was hard work, but what wasn't hard work. It was really taxing to be there. It was really like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Like, it wasn't managed very well. It was like a lot of drama, a lot of waiting to see things, waiting to figure things out, watching to see how things go, all this stuff. Instead of just showing up, doing your work, getting it done, and going home, you know? And I spent a lot of time in that job trying to figure things out, you know. Well, should I do this? I don't know if I should do that. I'm not really sure. Just feeling like kind of indecisive, where in the past, when I look and when I remember how I was in Reno around 2015 or so, it was much easier to make sense of things. It was like, no, that's like, what? That's ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. Like, that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? That's stupid. Like, don't do that. That's stupid. You know, and just the kind of like, I don't know, like a wake up call, kind of like realizing like, what are you doing? Like, dude, stop doing that. That's dumb. You know, stop doing that. And it just really kind of helped me out a lot and helped speed things along in my process, instead of taking time to ruminate things and work through it all, which takes forever sometimes. And I'm not trying to discourage deep thinking at all or being thoughtful at all. I'm just saying that sometimes we're in places where it's like, dude, stop thinking about it. Do it. Just do it. Make the decision and get it over with. Like, get out of that job. That job is not good for you. That situation's not good for you. That relationship's not good for you. Get out of it. Stop doing that. Just stop, okay? Do you get it? That's that's bad. Why are you doing it? Just stop, you know? And I wish so bad that I had more of that when I was going through those kinds of things. Like, and even in that period of time when I was all involved in that stuff, like just the anti-God stuff, you know. And I wish I knew better. I did know better, but I was numbing myself. But I wish I had more of that presence of mind in these other relationships I had gotten into that were just stupid. They were just stupid. Like, it was a bad idea. Like, I'm not beating myself up for it, but I'm just saying, like, this is not right. This is not the right thing to do. And I knew it wasn't the right thing to do, but I did it anyway, you know. And so it's crazy. And but anyway, I'm thankful. What I'm saying, I guess, is that I'm thankful for clarity of thought, and I'm thankful for the ability to recognize things, make sense of them, and go, what? Like, that's ridiculous. Why are you doing that? You know, you don't have to stay on this path. And I think that's ultimately, and that's such a helpful thing. But like, applying that to so many other situations is really interesting, and it's very true. It can be dangerous because, you know, Satan, who really does exist, and the enemy, Satan, aka the enemy, aka the adversary, is going to try to take advantage of you, and say, when you try to use that freedom and try to say, no, I don't need to be here, I don't need to do this. This is lame. Like, why am I doing this? He'll try to get you to think. He'll try to get you to think that about church. He'll try to get you to think that. He'll try to get you to think about. He will try to get you to think that way about good things. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying think that way about those things at all. I'm just saying, be careful what you get into. Be careful what you do. Be careful where it leads you. And if something's moving around kind of really slow and it's not really changing, and you just think you're on this revolution where you just have to stay on the treadmill until you get to 5 miles, or until you get, well, I started, you know, that's a bad example because treadmill is good for you, but it's like you're on this road and you're like, well, I started on this road, so might as well finish it. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you can finish it if you want. Yeah, fine, do that. If you want to do that, but like, probably shouldn't. Like, you should probably do something else. Like, there's something better for you. Like, why are you doing that? Don't do that. Do what's better for you, right? And So really my quest in my life at the time, those years, was trying to figure out what that was for me, trying to figure out what that better was for me. And I really didn't know. And I was looking in all the wrong directions. It took me a really long time. I went the mega long route to come around, the long way, the long way to come around to realize, oh shoot, like, what am I doing? Like, I need to talk to God, and I need to be like, what the heck? Why am I doing this? And I need to apologize. I need to stop doing this, and I need to start doing what I need to do. I need to start doing what's good for me, And so, I don't know. It's just kind of a lot, but, just kind of wanted to share some of these thoughts. And I really do like that quick decisiveness, and it's combine that with the Spirit and let the Spirit lead you with that. That's like the forgive the terminology here, but that's like the God mode version. Like, there's like a peon version of this. Like, it's like, okay, you have trust, and you have ability, and you have your hardworking tendency, and you have honesty and all these things. But then once you have the Spirit with you, everything goes like this. It goes up here. It's like dot 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 dot. It's like better. You know what I'm saying? Because it's infused with the Spirit, because you have the wisdom of God behind it. You have the discernment. It's using your gifts in the right way. Like, everybody has gifts. Everybody has spiritual gifts that they're born with, and you either know about them or you don't, or you do kind of, or they're dormant, or they're being used, or something like that somewhere. Everybody varies with their gifts. But there are good ways to use your gifts, of course, and there are bad ways to use your gifts. There are unrealized ways of using your gifts, and then there are realized ways of using your gifts. And using your gifts in a realized way, that always involves the Spirit. That always involves God, because if you're doing it the right way, it always involves God. It always has the Spirit with it. So, yeah, a lot of things to say. But I need to get going because I need to get breakfast and get to school, because we have Bible study at 10, and it's like 9:15. So, but thank you guys for watching. I hope this wasn't too jarring of a video. I talked about some kind of crazy stuff that I got into, and this was a while ago. Like I said, this was like 10 years ago. This was like 2014. That's when I went off the rails. But I kind of needed to, in a way. I needed to kind of shake some stuff off, because I was kind of smothered from a lot of things, and just like needed to be like, ugh, get off me. What the heck, man? Who am I? I feel like all this stuff is being placed on me, and it's not me. And I don't even know who I am, because all I have is all this stuff on me. So get off of me so I can figure out who I am. That's kind of how it was. But thanks for watching, you guys. And let me know your thoughts. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop wasting time, okay? Goodbye. Thank you.